Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about my summative tools class. Now basically what a tools class is, it's a set of functions that can be used in day-to-day coding. Now specifically I'm going to be covering some of the functions that I found very helpful and pretty cool. Now the first one is the common factors function. This is it. So basically this takes two integers and returns a list of all of the common factors. So basically first what I used is my generate factors function that I've created, which finds out the factors of an integer. So basically I stored the factors of A in list 1 and factors of B in list 2, and then I went through all of the different factors of A, and if the factors or the different factors of A are in list 2, then I appended the factor to the common factor to the common variable that I have for an empty list. Now the next one that I'd like to talk about is prime. It's a simple function, but it can be very useful. Now this function takes an integer and returns true if it's prime and false if it's not. Now, so basically what I did was, if the integer is divisible by 2 and it is not 2, or if it's divisible by 3 and it is not, and the integer is not 3, then that means that it is not prime and it returns false, and else it returns true. Now the next one is add digits. Now this one takes an integer and returns a sum of all of the digits within the integer. So basically what I did first was convert the integer to a string, and then found the length of the integer and used a for-i range loop to loop through and go through all the indexes of the integer, and then I added them to the sum separately. And then after the next function that I'd like to highlight is generate list. Now this function generates a list containing n amount of integers, and the integers can be any value from low to high, and from low to high. So basically I used a for-i range loop to loop through n amount of times so that I could create the list n amount of times, and then each time I set int to a random number between low and high using a random.randint function, and then I appended that integer to the empty list variable. Now the next function that I'd like to highlight is count element. Let me just find it. Here it is. Okay, so basically this function counts how many times a specific letter appears within a list. So basically that means that the list has to be a list of strings. And so basically I used a for-i range loop to run through all the indexes of the list, and then a for j in range loop to run through all the indexes of the specific index of the list. And then if the index within the index equals the letter, then it adds 1 to the count. Now the next one is next prime. Now this is similar to the is prime that I talked about before. So basically it is a function that takes an integer and returns the value of the next prime number. So basically at the beginning I set next prime as the integer plus 1, seeing as the next prime number cannot be the integer itself. So then I used a while loop and checked while the next prime number is divisible by 2 and is not 2, or the next prime is divisible by 3 and is not 3, then I add 1 to next prime to find the next number, and when I find the next prime, I return it here. Now the next function I'd like to cover is generate factors. So basically this is the one that I used within the common factor one. This gets all the factors of an integer. So basically I used a for I in range loop and started at index of 1 and went to an index of, since the common factor can not be 0, it has to start at 1, and then I went to the last index of integer 1, and then I checked if the integer is divisible by I, then I appended I to the list. Now the next function that I'd like to highlight is remove int, numInt. So basically this is a function that checks an integer for a specific number, and if it's found, then it removes that specific number from the integer. So basically what I had to do is check the for I in range of and run through all the indexes of I had to convert int to a string so that I can use a for I in range to go through all the indexes of the integer, and then if the integer index does not equal the number, then I added that to the new number, the new blank number that I created. And then so if the index is equal to the number, then it's not added to the new number and it is taken away. Now the next one is, this next function is count even. So it's pretty simple, but it's quite useful. So this function counts the number of even integers within a list. And so basically I used a for I in range loop to run through every index in the list, and then if the index is divisible by 2, then of course it's even, and the 1 is added to the count. And then this function is min-max diff. So basically it finds the min number of the list and the max number, and then the difference, and then calculates the difference between them. So basically I used a for I in range loop to run through all the indexes. I set min as the list 1, list at index 0, so it starts at the first index of the list, and then I added the max, made the max 0 so that all the integers within the list could become the max. And then I used a for I in range loop to run through all the indexes, and if the index is less than the minimum, then it becomes the minimum, and if index is greater than max, then it becomes the maximum. and then I return the max minus min to find the difference between them. Now, the next one is add elements. So this is basically takes a list of integers in ascending order and adds a single element, inserts it in the correct location. So basically I did a for-i range loop to go through all the indexes of the list, and then if the index is greater than a, then the list would insert a before the index, and then if not, it just if none of the indexes are greater than a, then it appends a at the end of the list. Now this next function takes a list of strings and returns the total length of all the elements within the string. So basically I set a sum variable for all the total length of all the elements. Then I use the for-i range loop to run through all the indexes of the list, and then I added the length of the index to the sum. Now this next one is student list. So basically it is a function that writes to a file and creates a student database. And so basically first I open the score file, which is here, and then let me just take that away. And then it appends what I write to it. So basically I write the name, name plus and the date, the age of the student, and then the date. So basically here I'll demonstrate student name. So what was student list? Name, let's say Lucas, age 16, date, March 18th, 2001, and then I run this, and here I run here. Wait, let me run this student list. Name, date, LA student list, and then print the test. Oh, sorry. This should work. Sorry, I did it wrong. It must be an int, a string. So basically now if I run this, then it appends this to the file. Now the next function that I'd like to cover is basically the same, and then it reads from the file. So basically if I have this in the file, then it opens the file and reads that and displays it on the screen. And then this one basically takes a list and sorts it from lowest to highest value. I used nested loops, so I used a for-i range loop to run through all of the things, and then I used a bubble increase to get the list in ascending order. Thank you.